If the European community proceeds in the direction which the majority of member state governments and the Commission seem to want, they will create a structure which brings insecurity, unemployment, national resentment, and ethnic conflict.
The Soviet Union was governed by 15 unelected people who appointed each other and who were not accountable to anyone. The European Union is governed by 24 people who appoint each other, meet in secret, and whom we cannot sack.
Today I call for a federation of nation states.
In the Soviet Union, they told us we needed a federal state to avoid war. In the European Union, they are telling you exactly the same thing. In the Soviet Union, we had a gulag. I think we have a gulag in the European Union, an intellectual gulag known as political correctness.
Anybody that stands up here and dares to give a political view that is different to the received wisdom is written off as mad, insane, violent, fascist.
In the EU, there are hundreds of thousands of bureaucrats with their huge salaries, their staff, servants, bonuses and privileges, their lifelong immunity from prosecution, which is simply shuffled from one position to another, no matter what they do or fail to do. We were told that the purpose of the Soviet Union was to create a new historic entity, the Soviet people, and that we must forget our nationalities, our ethnic traditions and customs. The same seems to be true of the European Union. They want you all to be a new historic entity, European.
You now want this flag, and a new anthem to replace nation states, and you don't care how you get there.
The Soviet Union was created by coercion and very often with a military occupation. The European Union is being created admittedly not by armed force, but by coercion and economic bullying.
You are one of the many academics throughout the universities of the European Union who is effectively paid to indoctrinate people with a certain line of thinking. We had the French say no, we had the Dutch say no, and then we had the Irish say no. You just don't get it, do you? No means no. If you believed in democracy, you would not just bulldoze aside those 3 referendum results. You are nationalistic, you are bullying, you are threatening, you are anti-democratic, you're a complete shower.
The old Soviet system was incapable of reform. So is the European Union. But there is an alternative to being ruled by those 24 self-appointed officials in Brussels. It is called independence.
Hello everyone, welcome to GGN. Today is Monday, February 4th, 2013 in Ondarko. I'm going to start with this article right here. EU to set up Euro election troll patrol to tackle Eurosceptics surge. So what a headline. The European Parliament is to spend almost £2 million on press monitoring and trawling Eurosceptic debates on the internet for trolls with whom to debate in the run-up and during Euro elections next year amid fears that hostility to the EU is growing. It's funny because it's these same groups that are set up by the governments and stuff like that, or quasi-governments and NGOs that are actually the trolls that go through and start bashing and stuff like that, liberty or nationalistic or just whatever, anybody with opposing views, and start trolling in their comment boards. So it says the Daily Telegraph has seen confidential spending proposals and internal documents planning an unprecedented propaganda blitz ahead of and during the European elections in June 2014. Key to a new strategy will be public opinion monitoring tools to identify at an early stage whether debates of political nature among followers in social media and blogs have the potential to attract media and citizens' interest. It says Parliament's institutional communicators must have the ability to monitor public conversation and sentiment on the ground and in real time to understand trending topics and have the capacity to react quickly in a targeted and relevant manner, to join in and influence the conversation, for example, by providing facts and figures to deconstructing myths. I like how they always put that. They're always that's what they call it, the facts fixing. So then you have the more on media, undermining the independent alternative online media, EU to regulate internet search engines. A new report written for the European Commission recommends regulation of the internet news, modifying search engines to control access to, quote, conspiracy sites, end quote, creation of European government news agencies, and the training of new cadres of professional journalists for science, technology, finance, and medicine. So, like lapdogs, right? This marks the beginning of a new era for the EU and for its control of the media. If you are reading this in the USA or Canada, be aware that what comes to Europe could also come to North America due to the Euro-Atlantic area of cooperation. Finishing up, this is a process of convergence via which Europe and North America will adopt similar policies on freedom, justice, and security, at least that's what they call freedom, to be implemented by 2014, which appears applicable to the latest media proposals. Next up, warrantless government requests for your Twitter and Google data continue to increase. Again, these types of articles I just seem like I have to cover them, but at the same time it seems redundant because most viewers should already be aware of this. It says that it seems that using email or social networks, nothing is actually private. The Atlantic Wire reports Twitter has released its second biannual transparency report. It says Twitter is still giving away more user information requested by the U.S. government than ever, and without a warrant. Ooh, without a warrant. The same government that can snatch you up off the street and detain you indefinitely and torture you, no questions asked. Yeah, that's same. So you shouldn't be surprised that they can take your Twitters and your Facebook posts, being that, it was the government that helped fund it and stuff like that for monitoring, just like what the EU's, what we're just talking about, monitoring, managing, and kind of steering public opinion. It's all about the engineered consent, right? In a mass democracy. It says here, that's what they call democracy. All data stored on cloud computing services can be accessed by U.S. government without a warrant. Ooh, without a warrant. There we go again. According to reports, all personal information stored on major cloud computing services can be spied on by U.S. agencies without the user's knowledge. It's being done under the recently reauthorized Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act, FISA, and has led British members of parliament to call on the British government to not only end the use of cloud computing, but also stop sharing intelligence services with the U.S., which will never happen. Like I said before, it's most intelligence agencies, all of them are all linked together. It's an international intelligence apparatus. So there's real no national sovereignty or anything like that. Like they like to act out and stuff in public in the movies. Euroboffin's plan supercomputer to simulate human brain, says 1.19 billion euros for in silico experiments to build robots driven by simulated people. The European Commission has selected the Human Brain Project, or HBP, as one of its future and emerging technologies, and will send it up to 1.19 billion over 10 years. So, build a simulated brain because we don't know enough about our gray matter. The project website says we lack a casual understanding of the way brain events produce cognition and behavior, while more than a century of research has yielded little understanding of how changes in synapses between neurons help us remember important events in our past. So, this is this could go in so many different directions. Talking about wiping your past so you're just all happy in this brave new world. And then, of course, you can have trying to understand how the brain works. You can bring that into artificial intelligence, into androids and stuff like that. Then, of course, you can be able to control people's thoughts, so how they think about things. And it's coming. It says the government wants to help manage retirement accounts. So kind of switching back and forth here now to the economy. Many people, including myself, discussed this right over the past years. The concept is pretty obvious. It's when the government runs out of money or they face a drying up in interest for its debt, they will come for the $19 trillion in Americans' retirement accounts. It seems that day may be finally drawing near. It says, I'm sure the government is just trying to protect your retirement accounts from terrorists, but coming from Bloomberg, the U.S. Consumer Finance Protection Bureau is weighing whether it should take on a role in helping Americans manage the $20 trillion they have put into retirement savings, a move that would be the agency's first foray into consumer investments. It says it's one of the things they've been exploring and are interested in terms of whether and what authority we have, says a bureau director. January 31st, Jesse Jackson calls for looting pension funds. As Margaret Thatcher observed, sooner or later socialists run out of other people's money, but the looting won't stop until they have stolen your last penny. Says, it goes on here, did you expect it? It says at a 3-day conference in New York, Jesse Jackson discussed a proposal for increasing availability of capital by using pension money to make loans in low-income communities. The idea is getting a prominent debut at the 16th Annual Wall Street Project Economic Summit, hosted by Mr. Jackson's Rainbow Push Coalition. So it says it's not just Jackson sharding Marxist lunacy through the bullhorn. It says had some other keynote speakers, President Clinton among them. It goes on here, and it says that despite, or rather because of his appalling irresponsibility and lack of morals and character, Clinton is a demigod among Democrats. Fundamentally, Mr. Jackson's proposal is about leveling the playing field. That is, it's about imposing egalitarianism by reducing everyone to economic level of Jackson's welfare-bred supporters. Remember this article from October 24, 2012. This is, again, across the pond, so what happens over there happens over here, vice versa. This individual in the UK, a politician, wants the retired to work for their pensions. It says here, and this individual is retired on £120,000 a year. Back in October, he told the BBC that retired people should be encouraged to do community work or face losing some of their pension. Big Brother, do log your drinking habits and waist size as general practitioners are forced to hand over confidential records. So his data includes weight, cholesterol, BMI, family health history, and pulse rate. Doctors will be forced to reveal alcohol consumption and smoking status. It says privacy campaigners describe it as the biggest data grab in NHS history. It's part of a service program called Everyone Counts. And of course, they say the data will be anonymous and deleted after analysis. It's kind of like your tweets that will be stored for, years to come, decades to come. Obamacare having trouble hiring experts for death panels. The Independent Payment Advisory Board for Obamacare is a 15-member panel who control the dissemination of care patients can receive, have authority over the reimbursements doctors receive for administering this care or eugenics to patients. So it says here, this economist and advisor to Obama that inspired the Affordable Care Act has refused to be part of this Independent Payment Advisory Board. It includes individuals from all areas, economists, academia, pharmaceutical industry, but it goes on and says that they're having a hard time filling spots for the obvious death panel. A roundtable of unelected bureaucrats that will make decisions and deem Americans worthy of health claims and approve or deny care to seniors. You have population control propagandists saying that we get very little opposition from the public in regards to population control coming out of their TV sets. And it's big. You can see it. During a recent lecture, the head of the elite-funded soap opera-producing Population Media Center admitted that his organization encounters very little opposition of the public because of a very gradual evolution of the characters. The U.S.-based Population Media Center, which produces soap operas worldwide with the aim of reducing populations, said that the organization hardly encounters any resistance from both governments and audiences in the nations where its melodramas are aired. So Mr. Ryerson basically says that the strategy employed by the Media Center and its international programs is based on incremental introduction of reproductive health issues. They do this in Africa and all around South America. That video said they start with these trade agreements where you have to curb your population or you start getting penalized. The justification given for its infiltrations, global agreements on population such as the 94 Cairo Conference on Population organized as part of Agenda 21. He says that we go into a country, we explain to them we're there to help them promote their policies, talking about population reduction. He says also the idea of using incrementalism as a way not to incite suspicion among the viewing audience is something already tried and tested in South America. There you go, as explained in a 2005 paper. The 2005 paper continues to note that this is because of the bonds that have been formed by the stage between the audience members and the characters. Because of the commonality of problems between characters and the audience members tend to accept these changes even though they may challenge some cultural traditions. In a recent speech, Ryerson stressed that his organization is working with the Hollywood community with the stated goal of convincing audiences in the U.S. to stop producing children because Americans have the highest per capita output of greenhouse gases. Quote, decisions on reducing family size in developed countries in particular are the least expensive intervention we can make to reduce impact on climate, besides not spraying aerosols or chemtrails, tainting the water supply with fluoride, right? or not carrying out hydraulic fracking anymore. Many other things. Harvard study confirms fluoride reduces children's IQ. So conclude that children who live in areas with highly fluoridated water have significantly lower IQ scores than those who live in low fluoridated areas. A 32-page report from January 28th. By Harvard. New York City schools giving out tens of thousands of doses of the morning after pill called Plan A. Thank you.